my friends, without further ado, let's start with the Bakhmut direction, where the Ukrainian Armed Forces have achieved success. After the occupiers withdrew from Klishivka and Avdiivka, they planned to hold the railway line to prevent the Ukrainian Armed Forces from advancing further. However, our units, understanding this danger, immediately began shelling their positions along the railway line and periodically launched assaults. As a result, the railway line has now become a grey area and the Russians cannot establish a foothold there. The Ukrainian Armed Forces are not advancing further at the moment, as the Russians are still attempting counterattacks. But the advantage is on the side of the Ukrainian Armed Forces. Our units are now in more advantageous position, as even the Russians acknowledge that the situation is very challenging for them. The Ukrainian Armed Forces continue to exert strong pressure, and we can expect further advances in this direction in the near future. However, in the Avdiivka direction, the Ukrainian Armed Forces have halted their advance towards Donetsk, provoking the reinforcement of Russian positions, the mobilization of reserves, and attacks by the Russians along the entire front line. Perhaps their intention was to draw fire and prevent them from sending reserves to the Zaporizhzhia and Bakhmut directions, allowing for the destruction of a large number of Russian formations. The Ukrainian Armed Forces, while in a defensive posture, are successfully repelling Russian attacks. Today, offensive actions are being recorded in the areas of Kreminna, Svatove, Avdiivka, and Pervomaisk. However, there have been no successes on any front over the past day. The occupiers have suffered losses in all directions and have retreated to their previous positions. Fighting also continues in Marinka, where the Ukrainian Armed Forces are successfully repelling all Russian attacks. Even in Novoprokopivka, the battles have not ceased. It seems that the Russians are so afraid that the Ukrainian Armed Forces will break through to Donetsk that they have decided to move the entire front line further away from the city. However, as it turns out, they haven't been successful in doing so, as they haven't been able to advance a single meter during this time. In the Vuhledar direction, the Ukrainian Armed Forces have also halted their attacks, and in turn the Russians decided to take advantage of this and to launch their counteroffensive. Today, attacks are being recorded on Staromayorsk and from Priutne towards Novoprokopivka. Over the past day, there have been no successes for the Russians, and the front line remains unchanged. However, the situation remains complex, as all attacks are accompanied by a significant amount of shelling. In the Zaporizhzhia direction, the Ukrainian Armed Forces continue their counteroffensive. Despite the absence of significant advances for a while, there are tactical successes. In the area of Verbove, the Ukrainian Armed Forces have successfully repelled all Russian attacks and advanced closer to the village again. There are practically battles on the outskirts there. Tactical battles are also ongoing in the area of Novoprokopivka. However, the occupiers have stopped their active advance from the flanks without achieving any success. All their plans regarding the encirclement of our units have failed, which remains that everything is going according to the plan of our general staff, although the counteroffensive has slowed down. In the Kherson direction, a large number of shelling continues. Just like before, civilians and residential buildings are suffering, and the occupiers continue to strike with artillery, drones, and even aviation. Along the front line, as before, there are no offensive actions and no changes are being reported. However, I believe everyone remembers our troops landing a month ago in the western part of Crimea and the successful operation conducted there. Now the Russians have realized that the danger of a landing operation, so they have started fortifying defense lines along the Crimean coast again.
Сейчас это оборудование огневых позиций оправдано тем, что, несмотря на своеобразную такую оборону, которую они затеяли на западном и южном побережье Крыма, они все-таки столкнулись с высадкой наших подразделений на западных берегах. И, вероятно, получили приказ вернуться к возобновлению огневых позиций, понимая, что невозможное возможно.
In the areas of Kreminna and Siversk, the occupiers continue to shell frontline settlements, but there are no reports of any offensive actions and the front line remains unchanged. However, in the vicinity of Svatove, it appears that the occupiers may be attempting reconnaissance before battle, as we already know that a major offensive is planned there. It seems that the first attempts to breach our defenses have begun. The occupiers are deciding on the best area to break through for success, but the armed forces of Ukraine are prepared to repel any attacks, so we await further developments. In the Kupiansk direction, the occupiers are also conducting a small number of shelling incidents, but as of now, no attacks along the front line have been reported. However, shelling of the city is being recorded. Preliminary information suggests that precision-guided air bomb struck the area, damaging at least 7 residential buildings and destroying civilian vehicles. There is currently no information about casualties. Additionally, as you may know, in the snap parliamentary election in Slovakia held on Saturday, September 30, the party of former Prime Minister Robert Fico, Smer SD, is leading. Fico is known for his pro-Russian views and has previously called for the cessation of support for Ukraine, advocating for peaceful negotiations with Russia. According to his statements, the war in Ukraine was started by Ukrainian fascists, not Russians.
In Western media, there is open discussion about the presence of pure fascists within the ranks of the Ukrainian army. Take, for example, the Azov battalion, which is demonstrably a fascist unit. Do you know what they say in Slovakia about Banderites and such riffraff war fighting? They are considered mere marginal brawlers on the fringes of society. But I have never seen a marginal brawler with a submachine gun and a tank, or with artillery. They are, after all, part of a specific army and do terrible things. We are even shocked to see them rolling out the red carpet in Zarenis. Who in heaven or on earth deliberately supports such phenomena? In 2023, it goes against the legacy of Slovak national identity. We must stand against fascism and Nazism in all forms, and I call on the highest constitutional authorities to clearly condemn the use of fascist symbols and signs because they remain silent. They are silent because they think.
Meanwhile, the president of Ukraine emphasized in his address that Ukraine's accession to the European Union is just a matter of time. He stated that the key goal for Ukraine now is to initiate membership negotiations by the end of 2023. The president also mentioned that during the meeting of the European Union Council of Ministers held today in Kyiv, he heard that such a goal is entirely achievable.
I wish you health, fellow Ukrainians. Today is a European and EU day in Ukraine. It's a very symbolic day. You can feel what it will look like, what it will sound like, what issues will be resolved, and how they will be resolved when Ukraine fully joins the European Union. Today, the EU Foreign Affairs Council held an off-site meeting in Kyiv. All the foreign ministers of the member states, representatives of the European Commission, and High Commissioner for Foreign Affairs and Security Policy, Josep Borrell, were present. It was a very productive and substantive meeting, truly in the interests of the whole of Europe. This is the first time that this council has met outside the European Union in such an off-site format. But it is formally outside. We all know that it is only a matter of time before Ukraine becomes a member of the EU. So the meeting has actually taken place in the EU already. Objectively, our country is a leader in protecting the very foundations on which European unity rests. The unity of modern Europe, which values human freedom and equality of nations, values international law. Today we talked in particular about Ukraine's full accession to the EU. Our key integration goal is to hammer out a decision this year to start membership negotiations. And today I heard once again at the meetings and negotiations that this is absolutely possible. Ukraine will definitely fulfill its part of the work, the 7 recommendations of the European Commission.
And that's all from me. Don't forget to like, subscribe to the channel and hit the bell icon to stay updated on all the latest news. Thank you for watching and see you next time. Bye bye.